Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Fish Bytes, the Miami Herald's Miami Marlins podcast. I'm Jordan McPherson. He's Andre Fernandez. Dre, do you think you could score more than 3 runs in the game?
Give me a bat. It's worth a shot. I probably have a better chance right now than they do.
Yeah. So, the stretch at this point, we are recording this podcast Monday just before the Marlins series opener against the San Diego Padres. And at the time of this recording, the Marlins have gone a healthy 15 games, scoring 3 runs or fewer. The first team to do so since the Chicago Cubs in 1979. No player currently in Major League Baseball was born yet. Albert Pujols was 4 months away from being born before that streak began. Andre?
Born that year.
Yeah.
So we'll get the feel old moment out of the way early in this week.
Yeah, I figured I'd get that.
Born that year.
Figure I get that in the first minute, and we can just talk about everything else. So again, 15 games. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm an October baby. I'm an October baby, so at least it happened before I was born by a month.
There you go. But yeah, it has not been pretty to watch. Not in the slightest. 15-game stretch. Marlins are 3-12 in that run. Their only 3 wins have been games where starting pitching has been able to throw shutouts. Outscored 50-27 in that run, and it's not been fun. It has not been fun. That's probably the simplest way, even though there are many more words I could probably use, but we try to keep this PG. So I'm going to have to just stop there, and I'll let Andre pick up from here.
No, look, and we don't have to berate them, but at the same time, like yesterday, Don Mattingly talked post-game, and I was there. I covered the game Sunday, and he spoke for about 10 minutes, different things, a little lengthier than a normal. And I told Christina this after the game. I said, I think the last 30 seconds or a minute encapsulated where this franchise is right now. And he was talking about basically how frustrating it is that the pitching is keeping them in every game. And they know that going in. But it's like, if they could just get that, and it's like over and over, and you're trying to get guys to fight, you're trying to get guys to do that. And they just don't have the pieces. They just don't have the pieces. And then when you have to kind of like keep, trying to get that. And I thought the last line he said was that he's like, we shouldn't have to be, because we were doing this last year, trying to find that mix and trying to find everything and trying to get, trying to figure out as an organization, basically who the right fit is, try to figure out. Because he talked about how guys, this is where you find out their characters, where you find out if you can roll with these guys long term, et cetera, that sort of thing. He's like, we were doing that last year, so we should have already known this year who those guys were, and here they are. And to me, yes, this is a problem now. It's embarrassing. Let's take a step back even and say this has been a season where this isn't the first streak. We were talking about they've had at least 2 20 or more inning scoreless streaks. It's a different crappy record every other month with this offense. And as a franchise right now, this is alarming, because you just look at the farm system, and yes, you have some bright spots here and there, even on the pitching side that was so deep not that long ago. You have some guys there, but there's still a lot of maybes. And here we are in year 5 of this, and a lot of these maybes have not panned out. Will they be this? Well, no, a lot of them have not. And now you're stuck with, now you got to play the kids, because you got to find out what a lot of these guys are made of. But at the same time, it's like, brace yourself, because this doesn't look like a team that's even going to reach 70 wins this season. And going back to the beginning of the season, if we'd have said that, remember that was the main point we made. If this is 65 or ish wins again, it's a disaster. They're headed for that, barring something drastic happening. And the sucky part is, even if it is a little better than that, it doesn't matter. Who cares? It's just going to change. It's just going to make the record look better.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, you look at the bloodbath they have coming ahead. They have the 3 games against the Padres going on now. Then they have the Dodgers twice in a 3-series span with Oakland in between. Then Tampa. Then the Braves and Phillies on the road. Then the
Right.
Mets and Phillies at home
Oh.
with a Rangers doubleheader in between. 24 of 29 games against teams in the playoff mix with this roster that they have.
And it was interesting. Yeah, it was interesting too because Mattingly talked about that was another part of it toward the end of the interview. He compared. He said teams like us. We were hanging with teams that are kind of like us, and mentioning the Reds and the Pirates. You don't want to be teams like us, Pirates and Reds. You wanted to be teams like us, all those teams that you just said right now at this point coming into the season, and you're not. So teams like us is those guys. Now what's going to happen? But to me, that's it doesn't even matter about this year and if they're going to lose, 18 out of those 24 games or whatever. I was just throwing a number out there. It's that fact. It's that you're still on the level with the bottom feeders like that. It wasn't supposed to be this way. We're not saying it was supposed to be like all the way at the top, but you were supposed to be above at least that level. And that was the tangible progress you were looking for in this season. And that's where it's a shame that it's pretty much stalled. I mean, and the big questions are going to come in the offseason. Who's the manager next year? What front office changes could come? Heck, and taking it a big step further, I'm just going to put it out there. Do they have the same owner in a couple of years or in a few years down the road? Like, what's the long direction of this franchise going right now with all of this? If this, if there's not significant change soon in terms of results.
Yeah. No, and the thing is, when you look at what this team is and what this team has, you don't have that instant insert lineup, instant success guy. You don't have, going back to the kids, there's no Juan Soto-esque, Wander Franco-esque top number one overall guy here where you can say we just need this guy who we already have to be ready. They don't have that. They're hoping, and again, it's going back to that key buzzword for 5 years now. They're hoping JJ Bleday takes off and can be one of their everyday guys. They're hoping Lewin Diaz's offense gets to the point where they can play him every day. They're hoping that Sandy Alcantara stays at peak ace form and they're able to trickle down the rest of the rotation, which, and again, Sandy either is going to throw a complete game shutout or going to get showed tonight because I'm talking about him now before he starts. So whatever happens, you'll be but you're hoping, again, it's that those main pieces, they're hoping that Jazz can find a way to stay healthy and find a way to be your superstar in there, which, again, missing him for 2 months, missing him as your core part of that offense and seeing how much things have fallen apart since he's been gone.
Right. And that's what we're going to say. That's your one. You mentioned some of the guys, not putting them on the Soto low, but that's your one game changer.
That's your closest thing to it. Yes.
Correct. That you look at and you say, okay, we're good there as soon as he gets better. And that's the guy you traded for.
Yep.
Not drafted.
Nope.
So.
Yep. Yeah. And then when you look at just the rest of the group, I remember I talked with Miguel Rojas in Chicago after one of the latest rounds of struggles. And he basically said, anytime that any sense of momentum that they have, as soon as it stops, the team just has no way of finding a way to get it back. They go down the run and they feel like they have to score 10 runs in order to get one. And there's no sequencing, there's no symmetry, there's no sense of everybody being it doesn't feel like everyone's on the same page with their approach with it. Yeah. And you can see it in the numbers. It's since the streak started, just looking at their big boys, their regulars, their veterans. Garrett Cooper, 182 average, 3 doubles on 4 for 22 at the plate. Jesus Aguilar, 7 for 41, 4 RBI over the 15 games. Rojas, 167, 8 for 48, all singles. Even you look at Joey Wendell, who has been their best hitter, their most consistent guy. He was hitting 289 before the stretch. He's hitting 185. So it seems like as soon as one guy goes into a funk, the entire rest of the lineup, 1 through 9, just follows. And they don't seem to have that one guy who can say, yeah, just give me that at bat. Let me figure out a way to do it, and I'll be the one to snap it. They don't have that leader in that lineup that's finding a way to single-handedly do what he has to do to get the rest of the group in sync.
And that's what you're that guy is the one with the bad back, or that the guy is the one with the bad back that you wish was there now, and probably isn't going to be till next season.
Yep.
So, but it on any team, something like this would take a tremendous mental toll, because every day it's like rinse, repeat. Can't get it done. Once in a while, the pitching is that good enough to carry you to a win, like they were doing, winning a bunch of these series finales, and they almost pulled it off again against the Braves. Had it not been for the blown save. But you just can't keep thinking. You just can't keep having your pitchers have to be that perfect to get it through. It's just not going to happen. It'll happen once in a while, but not consistently enough. And yeah, I mean, it's a distorted lineup because you have, like you said, varying degrees. Either guys that aren't figuring it out right now, guys that are slumping, or guys that are just starting, and it's not fair to them. They're in their developmental phase and just, learning, taking their first swings at it. So that whole distorted picture produces this ugly picture we're seeing right now.
Yeah, no, and it's amazing to see when in this 15-game stretch where, again, the Marlins they've scored 27 runs. Their opponents have only scored 50. So the Marlins are giving up 3 1/3 runs per game, and they're 3-12.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have a Cy Young candidate, an upper level starter that's one of the better ones in the league, and and you look at I'm talking about Pablo after Sandy, and then Luzardo coming off the injury, who's had some good starts too,
and Braxton Garrett as well,
and now
blown me away this year. I'll be honest, again, I know David Wilson just wrote a story about that for us as we started recording, but just to watch Braxton Garrett, and again, it's one of those, to the point of the season, the side stories, the individual developments, and he has been one of those since he got called up a couple months ago. That's been one of the more pleasant surprises that we've been able to see, and it's something that gets basically thrown to the wayside because of everything else that's happened this year.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, look, that's a bright spot. Look, we're talking about all the negatives. That's one bright spot in terms of the pitching that we're talking about, and a guy they drafted, a guy who was set back by injury right after he was drafted, and has found a way now. And we were talking about it, yesterday, how that wasn't a picturesque outing either. The better one was the 11 strikeout one that he had against the Pirates. This one, he labored. He had guys on base pretty much except like one inning. But the fact that he was able to manage it, was able to get through it, and have 6 shutout innings in spite of that, against the team that, if it weren't for the Mets being red hot, is winning the division right now. I mean, that's good. That shows you his evolution as a pitcher, getting better. And Mattingly talked about the pitch mix has come along well. He's developed that. It's been able to kind of keep him, without having those innings, those stressful innings kind of swell and turn into a disaster. That's the thing. And again, it's a good thing, but set to the backdrop of what's going on the other side of it, it's a shame, because you are getting good outings from him. Like I said before, you're getting good outings from the other 3, from Luzardo, from Pablo, and obviously Sandy we're seeing him take a huge leap this year in the Cy Young race. But, even on that side of it, it's got to be, they're not going to come out and say that, and they're not going to rip their teammates, but it's got to probably be a little quietly frustrating that it's not resulting in wins half the time.
Yeah. I remember one play in Philly. It was early on in Braxton's start. Joey Wendell goes up for a pop-up that ends up shifting into right field. He and De La Cruz basically collide. Ball drops. You saw him clap the glove. You see I'm almost out of the inning, just need my guys to make a play, and unfolds. And it's just a matter of finding, especially for the younger guys who are balancing the success and all that, too. Gotta keep the emotion in check at times. Again, it's the trouble of I'm doing what I need to do, but everything else isn't playing out. It's finding that balance, and I can only imagine. I've never been in their shoes, but I can only imagine how tough that is when you do your job, you get everything done, and then the guys you need to do their job as well, just they don't show up.
Well, yeah. I mean, equate it to this job, when you see something like that happen, and then if someone around you, like, weren't, pulling their own weight, you'd feel frustrated too if things are coming out messed up half the time. And it's true. I mean, it's I'm telling you, it's as bad. right now, and that to me, the interesting part, I know we're narrowing the focus and talking about that, but then I like going big picture and wondering what's going on beyond this. And to me, that's the interesting part, is what happens next with this franchise, getting beyond this lost season, what decisions are going to get made, and how is there still a path to what that goal was with the rebuild, or do major changes need to be made?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We got about 6-7 weeks until the first of those dominoes will start to fall. In the meantime, we got, again, month and a half of season left.
Yeah.
Everything else starting up too. We got football season just start. We already got preseason football started on Sunday. UM's already doing stuff. Panthers training camp's a month away.
Yeah.
Football starts for you again this weekend, Dre.
Preseason week. Yep. Yeah. But look, going back to the baseball thing, to the baseball part of it that we were talking about. I mean, look, the Rangers, Chris Woodward just got fired in Texas.
Yep.
And they're so, not to just single out the manager. It's not, to me, firing Don Mattingly now, if he wanted to do that, it doesn't change anything. It's not on him. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm saying, like, in terms of where does this franchise go later on, to me, it's going to be interesting to see what high up changes are made, because clearly it hasn't been working the way they would have hoped by now. Not everything. Certain things here and there, yes. But overall, in the grand scheme of things, and can this still happen? Is it still possible? Is it just a setback that this is stalled? Or is this just gone off the rails, and just at this point, how much of an overhaul do they need? That's all the stuff coming up in the next, like you're saying, the next month or two, that's going to have to be addressed and answered, and beyond, not just a month or two, but and beyond, well into the off season. What moves do they make and whatnot? But yeah, people listen to this for the Marlins, not football. But yes, football is here, and if I guess people will welcome that distraction if they're tired of seeing a lot of strikeouts and a lot of goose eggs on the scoreboard. If this keeps going, it's going to go into some ugly history potentially this weekend in LA if they don't snap this in the next few days against the Padres.
Yeah, that ugly history. The record for longest streak of 3 runs or fewer is 19. The Marlins entered Monday at 15. By the time this gets published, they'll either be up to 16 or they will have gotten that magical 4th run. And with that, I think it's time to actually check out the game. So that's going to wrap up this week's episode of Fish Bytes. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. And we'll be back again next week, either talking about merciful history or maybe some better times in LA. Who knows?
We'll get your West Coast wrap up.
There we go. All right.
From LA, live from Dodger Stadium.
That we will. All right. Thanks so much, everyone.